All right, so welcome, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you all here today. And this is where I have to do my part as a coach, a trainer, mentor, to really guide you in the right direction. So you do know PMI is going pretty heavy on process these days. And while they're not asking you, what is an output of Create WBS? What is an output? They're not asking you that, but they do need you to know the flow mentally. Part of knowing the flow mentally, I said it yesterday, is knowing where everything in your garage is. Have you ever known that there was something in the garage, but you just couldn't find it? It's so annoying. You know it's in here, but you just can't find it. Or in the kitchen. Have you ever been through that? You know that there's a pair of scissors. You left it here some time ago, but now you can't find it. Well, that's how it is on the exam when you don't know your 49 processes well. You got to know if someone says, authorization, boom, project charter. You don't even need to think. So let's play a game. That's authorization. Let's play another game. Staying on track, schedule-wise. What's that?
What process is that?
Yeah, what process?
The control schedule?
That's control schedule. Now, what I need you to do as you identify what they are, also remember the process group they're in. So for example, if someone said, you have just created a report, what do you do next? Well, you know you created a report in monitoring and controlling. What you do next cannot be develop project charter. What you do next cannot be create WBS, right? That's the way you need to be thinking about this stuff. Decomposing the scope. What would you say that is?
Create WBS.
Good, create WBS. Awarding a contract to your friend Fabrizio to do some work.
Conduct procurement?
You got it, conduct procurements. Giving the team feedback.
Manage team?
You got it, manage team. Using your influence to ensure that Trace carries out a risk response.
Implement risk response?
You got it, very good. That is where you use your influence. Those are the interpersonal skills. Awesome. Computing the earned value metric CPI, SPI.
Perform quantitative risk analysis.
Try again. Computing
Oops.
the earned value metrics, SPI, CPI,
Schedule.
SPI and CPI.
Oh,
Control
Quality.
cost?
control.
That's-
costs.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. Control cost.
Cost.
CPI, since I said CPI, it has to be cost,
Yes.
right? All right. Checking the deliverable yourself before sending it off to the customer.
Manage quality.
No.
Think again, checking
Control
the
quality.
deliverable. You got it. Control quality. All right. Doing an audit on your project to ensure that the vendor is performing well.
Oh,
Control procurement?
You got it. Well done. That was a bit of a mouthful, but you got it. Well done. Asking your stakeholder if they are happy.
manage,
Stakeholder engagement?
Actually, it's
Monitor.
not.
monitor.
Monitor. So if you're asking them, are they happy? That's kind of like getting some sort of report, you know, and we do that in monitor stakeholder engagement so that we can do something better in the manage stakeholder engagement process. Okay. You are at the water cooler talking to your stakeholder in a bid to suck them into the project more. You're at the water cooler talking to your stakeholder in a bid to suck them into the project more. What process?
Manage stakeholder engagement?
You got it. So did you see what happened there? Well done. You are communicating, but it's what you're trying to do in your communicating. You're trying to suck them in. That's manage stakeholder engagement. So if you read in the PMBOK guide, it says you are communicating and working with them, but you're doing it with a purpose. Why don't we go real quick to the PMBOK guide, chapter 13. I just want to show you something quickly in 13.3. Let's read the definition here on page 523. It says, managed stakeholder engagement is the process of communicating and working with stakeholders to meet their needs and expectations, address issues, and foster appropriate stakeholder involvement. The key benefit of this process is it allows the project manager to increase support and minimize resistance. That's really what you're trying to do in managed stakeholder engagement. All right. You just completed the process of prioritizing your risks by risk score. Which process did you just do? You prioritized your risks by risk score. Which process was that?
Perform qualitative.
You got it. Very good. So the risk score comes up in qualitative. Any questions on anything I've said so far? Does it make sense? All right, let's continue the journey. You have just completed a cost estimate for your work packages. Which process is that?
Estimate cost.
You got it. Very good. You were not moved by the work packages because that's what you do in estimate cost. Estimate cost could be estimating costs for the tasks or estimating costs for the entire big work package. Good. All right. You just completed a process and the output was project funding requirements. Which process was that?
Determine budget.
You got it. Project funding requirements. Thank you. So we're talking about the funding requirements for the project in total or periodically. All right. You just completed a document that will contain what went well and what didn't go so well. Which process did you just complete?
Close project or phase.
Actually, it's not.
You
What
said a
went-
document, right?
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Say that again.
Lesson learned.
Mhm.
Which process is it?
Closing.
Mm-mm.
No,
Oh,
Integration.
it's not closing. Try again.
It's an integration.
What went well and what didn't go so well?
Is it
Where
managed
did you
project
actually get
knowledge?
that as an output?
Yes. Train and control. Say it, Cece.
Is that direct and manage?
Is it managed? Oh, sorry. Managed project knowledge?
You got it. This is a common error. We often think the lessons learned is in closed project or phase, but it's not. The PMI wants you to begin thinking about it in manage project knowledge during executing. So as you're doing it bit by bit by bit, you're adding more, adding more, adding more. And then when you get to the end, you already have all the lessons learned except a few. So what you do in closing is you actually archive that lesson learned register, but you were already working on it right from executing in managed project knowledge. So just keep your eye on that one. The reason why is you don't want to get to the end and start scrambling around to do lesson learned for everything that you've learned. No, it's kind of like the retrospective in the world of Scrum. We break it down into pieces, so it's more iterative. Why don't we go there really quick? I want to show you the dynamics of this thing, the way it works. So let's open up to 4.3. This is, I'll show you the two angles to this. 4.4, I beg your pardon. Manage project knowledge. Let's take a look at the output. Lesson learned register, page 104. It says, the lessons learned register, I'm going to read this from the second paragraph. The lesson learned register is created as an output of this process. Is anyone else following me? What's the word? page 104. Second paragraph under lessons learned register. The lesson learned register is created as an output of this process. What's the magic word? Early. Thank you. You got it. It's early in the project. Thereafter, it is used as an input. So this is where the confusion comes from. It is used as an input and updated as an output in many processes throughout the project. So it's not just that at the end that you get it, you actually get it in the beginning. Then let's take a look at the last line here. It says, at the end of a project or phase, the information is transferred into an organizational process asset called a lessons learned repository. So that's where the confusion is coming from. The difference between the repository versus the lesson learned. So a lesson learned repository, it has an output of all of our projects. So Fabrizio got done with his project. He has a lesson learned register. It goes into the lesson learned repository, right? Carice got done with her project. She's got a lesson learned register. It goes to the same repository. I get done. And by the time you know it, you got like hundreds of lessons learned registers in your lesson learned repository. Maybe it's a system with common fields. So it just sucks everything in and it's in one database. That's how it works. All right. Let's move on. You just got done and you obtained the schedule baseline. Which process was that?
Develop schedule.
Thank you. Develop schedule. You got it. That's the one. All right. You're project manager on a project. You're sitting down with your team, deciding how to communicate with difficult stakeholders and how to communicate across the project. Which process is that?
Plan communication.
You got it. Well done. Okay. All right. You're taking a look at how physical resources were used on the project. Which process is that?
How they
How-
were used.
Yeah, how physical resources like materials and equipment were used. And you're trying to investigate if there was some sort of misuse of those resources. Which process would that be?
Control resource.
Control.
You got
Yeah,
it. Well done. Control resources. All right. You're transitioning the deliverable over to the client.
Close project.
You got it. Close project or phase. Well done. You are deciding how to respond to the risks that you've identified.
Risk responses.
Thank you. It's plan risk responses. You are deciding if you need to hire an outside vendor to work on some of the user stories, or if you can do them all by yourself. Which process would that be?
Plan resource management.
Plan procurement.
It's actually plan procurement management. So it's procurement because you're deciding if you can do it yourself. That's a make or buy.
Maker, yeah.
Yeah, so that's plan procurement
right.
management. Good job. All right. You are advertising the fact that your company is about to request that seller's bid. You got it. Who said that?
Kareem.
Good job, Kareem. It is conduct. Good. Conduct procurements. All right. You're using a stakeholder list as an input to a process to identify more people that the project could affect. You're using a stakeholder list.
Identify stakeholders.
You got it. It's identify stakeholders. So the stakeholder list you're using as an input, it comes from Develop Project Charter. Good job. All right. You're deciding which quality standards need to be adhered to on your project.
Plan quality management.
You got it. You're using design for X as a tool and technique to understand which variables are most important in your product?
Manage. Sorry, manage quality.
You got it. Manage quality. Thank you. Fantastic. Good job. You're deciding whether to send your team for an offsite, and eventually you decide just to train them in-house. Training them in-house would be which process?
Develop team.
Develop team.
You got it. Well done. At the end of this process, you obtained physical resource assignments and project team assignments. Which process is that?
Acquire resources.
You got it. It's acquire resources. Well done. Any questions so far and any other things that were said? Because I will put this recording out there to help you and other folks, so you will be able to watch it again and again to kind of get the language. All right. You created a list of all the things to do on the project. Which process is that?
Define activities.
Good job. Define activities. You're using a model espoused by the PMI known as cause, risk, effect. Cause, risk, effect. Which process would you use cause, risk, effect model?
I don't know, perform quantitative.
Not exactly. Close. One of its neighbors, I guess.
Is it identity?
Oh,
Monitor.
you said cause, I guess monitor risk, right?
Cause, risk, effect.
Identify.
Identify.
It's identify
Mhm.
risk. Now, why do we do cause, risk, effect? Because if you find the cause of a number of risks and you have one cause leading to many risks, you just kill the root cause and you get rid of all the problems. So the PMI espouses cause, risk, effect, not just identifying the risk, but identifying what could cause it and what the effects could be. So that's the model that we use in identifying risks. PMI is quite big on cause, risk, effect, at least in the risk management professional certification. We're really big on not just the risk. It's not enough to just say, this is what could happen. We want to know what could cause it to happen. The cause, risk, effect. All right. You just computed the expected monetary value. Which process is that? You just
That's
computed.
Quantitative risk Yeah. analysis.
You got it. Well done. Quantitative. That's expected monetary value. Good job. All right. You're checking to see if the way you communicate with stakeholders is up to par.
Monitor communications.
Manage.
Checking to make sure it's up to par is actually monitor communication. So monitor is where we're always checking to see. If you ever get a question that tells you you're checking to see this, or you're checking to make sure that, or inspecting this or that, it's usually monitoring and controlling. All right. The change control board is reviewing change requests that came in. Which process?
Perform integrated change control.
Integrated.
You got it. You just created a work performance report, and which process would that be?
Monitor and control project work.
You got it. It's monitor and control project work. Now, the work performance report that you got from monitor and control project work, you are now distributing it to all stakeholders. Which process is that?
Manage communications.
Well done. Manage communications. You discover that you need 5 testers and 3 coders. Which process did you just complete?
Is that estimate activity resources?
You got it. Well done. You just created a traceability matrix for the requests that came in.
Collect requirements.
Requirement.
Well done. You got it. Collect requirements. Your team just concluded a meeting and they decided how the schedule will be managed. Which process is that?
Plan schedule.
Management.
You got it.
How to.
Great job there. That's the key. How to. Your customer is very disappointed in the deliverable they inspected. Which process did they just complete?
Validate.
Validate scope.
You got it. You just prevented Phil, your team member, from gold plating on the project.
Control scope.
Control scope.
So
You got it. Well done. Control scope is where we prevent gold plating, scope creep, and all those bad behaviors. You compiled all of the documents and all of the plans and all of the baselines together.
develop project management plan.
You
Yeah.
got it. I tried to distract you with documents, but it is develop project management plan. I got to put a red herring in there. Okay. So you just finished constructing a stakeholder cube. Which process is that?
Stakeholder engagement.
Actually, it's not.
Identify stakeholders.
Is it managed?
It's identify stakeholders. Beware, because even though we've covered it, I may still ask you questions about it. So it's identify stakeholders. All right. You just finished applying the salience model to your analysis. Which process is that?
Is that monitor?
No,
Must manage.
Identify stakeholder.
it's identify stakeholders. Well done. That's where we apply the salience model. What are the 3 factors in the salience model?
Urgency, legitimacy, and power.
Well done. I told you she's a machine. She knows it. Okay. Power, urgency, and legitimacy. Well done. You just finished deciding how to compute your budget.
Determine budget.
You just finished deciding how to compute your budget.
Plan cost management.
That's it. How is always plan cost management or plan something. Good. All right. You just received a basis of estimates from a process. Tell me 3 things it could be.
Define activities.
Close.
All the things that say estimate.
That's not fair, Carice, but she is largely correct. Estimate cost.
What's the other one? I think it's acquire. Yeah, estimate. Yeah, resources.
Which other one, Carice?
Estimate activity durations.
A tricky professor. She knows how to cut all the crud and get to the heart of the matter. Well done. Okay. That is indeed correct. So it is not, I beg your pardon, it's the one that says estimate activity durations. All right. So let's just finish this off. You're doing a technical performance analysis. Which process is that?
Oh, that's it's resources. Acquire resources.
Can anyone open up their PDF and do a search for technical performance analysis and tell us what page comes up? Those of you that have a PDF of the PMBOK Guide 6. Technical performance analysis.
It's not managed team.
It might be, depends on which page it falls on. Why don't we search?
His developed team.
Technical performance analysis.
Analysis.
Has anyone actually searched for it? Technical performance analysis.
On page 456.
Under which process, Carice?
I don't know this book like that. Okay.
It's either control resource.
Monitor risks.
Monitor risk. Now everyone's going to say, what is technical performance analysis? Can someone read it for us?
Technical performance analysis compares technical accomplishments during project execution to the schedule of technical achievement. It requires a definition of objective, quantifiable measures of technical performance, which can be used to compare actual results against targets. Such technical performance measures may include weight, transaction times, number of delivered defects, storage capacity. Deviation can indicate the potential impact of threats or opportunities. We won't forget this, Phil.
Thank you, Carice. So as a very bare bones example, you have 55 items that you need to implement, and you said you would get done with 25 of them by the end of the week. Well, end of the week came and you've only done 10. Well, that's a sign that you're at risk, because the technical performance you said you were going to get to, you ain't gotten there. There's a problem. So things like that, they help you when you're trying to monitor risk, like raise a red flag. So that's a fun one. All right. You just got done completing a stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, and your stakeholder Phil, you discover, is currently unaware. Which process is that? You just got done with your first, let me help you with this word, your first stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. Which process is that?
You mean creating it?
Creating it. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That'll be plan stakeholder.
You got it, Doc. That's correct. It's plan stakeholder engagement. And I understand the hesitancy, because you could use your stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, even in the monitoring and controlling aspect. You could look and say, that Phil, is he still unaware? You could look at the matrix and determine where he is. And if he's moved on, then good. How do you sustain where he is? But if he hasn't moved, how do we actually get him to move? All right, you just got done creating a team charter and everyone has bought into it. Which process is that?
Develop project charter.
Develop team.
Develop team, yeah.
Team
No,
charter.
No. You just got done creating a team charter. No,
Oh, then it must.
It's not planned resource?
it is plan resource
Oh,
management.
okay, I thought that's what he said. Okay, sorry.
Plan resource management.
You
I thought I
created
had
it.
I thought I had estimate. Excuse me if I didn't hear you correctly. It is plan resource management. Well done. All right. You just created a document that contains inclusions and exclusions. Which process is that?
Plan scope,
Plan scope,
No.
Develop.
define scope.
define scope.
Define
define
scope. Inclusions and exclusions. Detailed deliverable description. That is your project scope statement, which comes from define scope. All right, you just finished a process and you got an issue log from it. Which process would that be?
Develop and manage.
Director manage
manage.
project work.
You got it. Direct to manage project work. Well done. All right, you just completed a process and you got work performance data from it. Which process is that?
Same.
Same one.
Well
manage.
done.
Same
It is-
one.
Same one. Well done. Okay. You have used a finish to start relationship on 2 activities. Which process is that?
Sequence activities.
Well done. It's sequence activities. That's the one. All right. As your project is underway, you have decided to crash the schedule. Which process is that?
Direct and manage.
That control.
Control schedule.
Control schedule. Because you crashed, all right? You crashed the schedule. That's control schedule. Can't be direct to manage project work, although data from direct to manage project work could help inform your decision for you to see that you are running late. So remember, you get WPD from here, And the WPD would go in here and it will help you inform a decision, for example. Okay. All right, we are almost at the tail end. You have decided to use a requirements traceability matrix. Which process did you decide to use this matrix in? Let me
Well,
say that again. Your team has just finished a meeting and they decided to use a requirements traceability matrix. Which process was that?
part of plan scope management, but the plan,
Playing stakeholder
Yeah.
engagement.
She got it. Carice got it because it's in plan scope management. The reason why she's saying part of is because we get two plans from there. We get a requirements management plan and a scope management plan. And it's a requirements management plan that you decide what you're going to use to manage the requirements. How often are you going to update the requirements? How are you going to compare the status or the progress of those requirements? So well done. So I understand why you said a part of. All right. Few more questions. You just got accepted deliverables as an output from a process. Which process is that?
validate scope.
Validate scope. Great job. That's the one. You just completed a risk breakdown structure format.
Plan.
Management.
You got it. It's plan risk management. So you decide the format of the risk breakdown structure, and then you actually use the risk breakdown structure in like identify risks, other places. Well done, my friends. Okay. Well, it seems like we got done with all the 49. And did the language seem so vague? It wasn't that vague, was it? I tried to use just everyday language because it is important that you imbibe what these things are, not just cramming, having to cram them, but really knowing. So this is in the bag. I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording. And like I said, I will share this with everyone, but our work isn't done.